Hey everyone, we're going to talk about the different types of foods that make up our nutrition. I've already spoken about carbohydrates and what constitutes a carbohydrate in a whole food. We're going to move on now to fats. For years, fats have been vilified in our nutrition. There was, for a very long time, the thought process that fats that you consumed in your food made you fat or put fat into your blood, which would then therefore cause cholesterol issues. And really, that absolutely has very, very little to do one with the other. I mean, when you think about it, it makes intuitive sense because for every 1 gram of fat, we get 9 calories of energy. Whereas with carbohydrates and proteins, for every 1 gram of either of those consumed, we only get 4 calories of energy. And so, if it really was that calories in, calories out, a calorie is a calorie type of situation, if you're eating foods that are higher in calories, fat containing foods, then yeah, it would make sense that we would put on weight or become fat. And that isn't how it works, honestly. It actually has more to do with the hormonal processes that those foods trigger within our body, in particular, insulin. Insulin is the guy that is problematic, and fat has no influence on insulin whatsoever. So back in the 70s, all kinds of lobbying going on, groups getting together and talking about the U.S. dietary diet guidelines and how can we improve or keep America from being hungry or starving. And so the USDA was taxed with the agenda to improve America's hunger. And as a result, the food pyramid guidelines were released. And that was a huge mistake because it was a conflict of interest. You know, what does America make the most of? Carbohydrates. And there was this thought behind heart disease due to President Eisenhower having heart disease and having had suffered heart attacks himself, that, you know what, it had to have been the fat in his food that was causing the heart disease. And I'm here to tell you folks that there hasn't been one study, not one study ever done that has ever proven fat, in particular saturated fat from our foods, has put fat into our blood. Not one study. But they have proven time and time and time again in evidence-based, double-blinded studies that fat created from our carbohydrate-containing food, aka triglycerides, does indeed put fat into our blood, and that is the fat then that can be plaque problematic. And so it isn't about the fats from our food, it's the fat created from the breakdown of carbohydrates that's problematic. Darn carbs, they just keep coming at us, right? And so what are fats that we should be consuming? Because honestly, that is the key to turning around type 2 diabetes. It is the key to feeling full and satisfied without triggering cravings. We need fat. We have over 10 trillion cells in our body, and all of those cells need fat to create healthy cell membranes so that their processes can be completed as they were meant to. Hormones are made out of fat. Our brain is fat. The nerves are coated in fat so that the messages can be transmitted down them. And so we need healthy fats in our body. You're going to find that Fit Feel Foods, when you look at their nutrition facts labels, are going to have higher fat content in them. And therefore the calorie content is going to be a little bit higher in them compared to meals that you could pick up elsewhere in the grocery store. But I'm here to tell you those fats in those foods and in those meals are coming from healthy sources of fat. I do not use vegetable oils. I do not use hydrogenated oils in my cooking because those too are problematic for our heart health. They cause high levels of inflammation. And so, what kinds of fats do we use and what should we be using? Olive oil. Olive oil is a great heart healthy fat that we should be using predominantly, and a lot of the recipes have olive oil. The meats and the proteins are sauteed in olive oil. Butter is another awesome source, and in particular if it is grass-fed butter or the butter comes from grass-fed cows, there is just pure ingredients. I mean, this for example, pasteurized cream. That's the ingredient. Pasteurized cream. Not margarine. Margarine is one chemical away from being a plastic, and I jest, but truly, margarine, Crisco, canola oil, soybean oils were put on the market because of the fact that they believed the chains that made these oils come together were healthier for us. They're polyunsaturated fats. But in actuality, you can add extra molecules of hydrogen that then become problematic for our heart health and cause inflammation. Inflammation therefore makes our blood vessels stickier, which then just encourages coagulation and plaque development, which can lead to heart attack and stroke. And that's a very oversimplified example. Again, I encourage you to check out the other links under the science tab. I have a whole collection of my nutrition science heroes out there, and they explain this much better than I do. So definitely check those extra videos out. But olive oil, grass-fed butter, other sources of healthy fats can be from nuts, pecans, walnuts, almonds, pistachios, tree nuts in particular, seeds like flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed. They all have higher quantities of fat in them, but they're also high in fiber, and they keep you full and satisfied so much longer, and that fiber again helps to lower that glycemic index. And so don't fear the fat. Don't fear the fat from eggs. That's another one that's been vilified for years. Yeah, but they're so full of cholesterol. That actually has been debunked, and that myth was debunked about 6 years ago. There's more nutrition in the yolk of the egg than just by eating the white of the egg. Yes, you're getting all of the protein in the white of the egg, but the actual nutrients and fats that our cells can use are located in that yolk. So eat the whole egg, and you know what, you're safe to eat up to as many as 6 eggs a day, and there's not going to be any problem when it comes to your cholesterol. Eating proteins that are higher in fats like red meat, salmon, tuna, those meats have a higher fat content to them, but they're the healthier types of fats that we should be taking in and consuming and not fearing them. Avocado, coconut oil, other good sources. Olives are great sources of healthy fats that we need to be putting into our diet and should be composing the biggest part of our daily intake of the day. If we were to look at how our day should look, carbohydrates should be only 20% of our macronutrient intake. Protein should be about 30, maybe 35. And then that leaves fat at being anywhere from 45 to 55% of our intake a day. And that's not going to be harmful because guess what? It doesn't cause the insulin response. And it's that insulin response that is the problem here, folks. And so I hope that sheds a little light on fat. And again, like I said, check out the other links under the science tab, and my nutrition science heroes can expound upon that even further. I hope this is helpful. We'll talk to you soon.